talk a bit about that, in the sense that how hard it is when you're studying early church fathers, you're reading the stuff, the people in the pew who have a lot of their own formation, stuff, the baggage they bring with them, they don't always get to read the books. They don't always see in the stuff. That's why it's often hard for the clergyman that's going through the journey to really convey that to his congregation, to his wife, to his kids.
It was difficult, but I realized that just to understand these truths, as I'd come to understand them, and to understand the linkage of the church with the church fathers and the subsequent development of the church, even though I understood that, my people needed to hear that, even though they chose not to follow me or not to agree with me. And so I asked their permission. Can I share with you what I've learned? And they gave me permission. So for about 6 months, I taught about the church, I taught about the development of history, I taught about Mary, I taught about papal authority, I taught about liturgy, I taught about Mary, I taught about purgatory, I taught about Mary. Mary was a big problem to us.
Oh, sure, of course, of course. You've been a Catholic for 9 years, and deacon. And I know we talk about a few things on the program, so there'll be some questions that people can ask. I'll say, go get the archive. But one thing I've noticed is that, experience it myself with other clergy converts also, after you've been in the church for a while, you're still starting to discover what it means to be Catholic.
It takes time. You cannot become a Catholic in 8 months. As good as RCIA is, you can't really comprehend the depth of the faith in 8 months. Yeah. It takes years of being familiar with, of exercising. What we take by faith when we first come in, okay, if the church teaches it, I believe it, although I don't really understand it, but I believe it. In time, your eyes begin to become adjusted to the teachings of the church, and they become even more beautiful. So many people have asked me, since the priestly scandals have broken out in the last few years, are you sorry you did what you did? I said, no. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. Because now I'm growing. Now I understand. It's just phenomenal how much I'm understanding and growing in faith and in the love of Jesus and the love of his church and the love of the people. I am just blown away by the universality of the church. Its diversity, being able to travel around the world and see Catholicism in Africa, Catholicism in Australia, Catholicism in the islands, Catholicism in America, Catholicism in Canada. It's just a great privilege to see how vast the church is.
You mentioned Africa.
Yes.
You've been there.
4 times.
Because all we hear about is it's just exploding there.
I just have to tell you this, and I'll try to say it as succinctly as possible. I was invited by Archbishop Cyprian to come to Martyrs' Day in Uganda. I think it was about 2 years ago, June 3rd. And he asked me to come and to share in giving my story to well over 1 million people in attendance. People came from miles away, walking, some 30, some 40, some 100 miles, walking. When they got there, there was no place to house them because there were about 1 million of them. So they sat outside in the open air. And that night, there were just torrential rains that just poured down, all on the people. They were soaking wet. There was no place to go but just to sit there in the one piece of ground. And do you know what they did, Marcus? They sang. All night long you hear them singing, praising God. They really, genuinely love the Lord. And I found out something. If you want to see the church in its greatest wealth, come to America, because God has blessed us. We're a prosperous nation. If you want to see the church in its orthodoxy, go to Rome. If you want to see the joy of worship, you go to Africa. There they dance and they sing and they praise God, and they love their church. They love the Holy Father. They love the Blessed Mother. They love everything about the church. Yeah. And there are well over 100 million Africans who are Catholic. And growing.
You are committed to evangelization. That's what you do. I mean, you're a deacon evangelization. And sometimes when I think about the history of evangelization in the history of the church, it kind of reminds me of trying to squeeze a water balloon. You know, if you got a water balloon, you squeeze it, and you're trying to, all of a sudden, part of it will pop out here. Okay, well, so you try and push that at the end, and then it'll pop out over here. And, you know, when the Protestant Reformation squelched it over here, Our Lady of Guadalupe popped out over here. And we're seeing different countries of the world where the straight faith was strong, and it's down, but it's popping out in Africa. I mean,
And in South America. And in Asia.
wait a second. South America is good to hear because we don't hear good stories about South America very much.
Yes.
Don't you say?
Church is growing. I know there's a problem in Brazil with the Pentecostals, but in other areas of South America, the church is growing.
What kind of a message you can give to our viewers about helping the church grow where they are? What about evangelization? What should our viewers do with evangelization?
Evangelization is not much understood by many Catholics. They equate it with Protestant evangelism, which they see on TV, and of course they say, that's not me, I'm not going to do that, or they equate it to going from house to house and neighborhood surveys and census taking. But in truth, evangelization has always been a part of the church's purpose of existence. We exist in order to evangelize. 3 ways we evangelize. 1, we evangelize by our lifestyle, living a life of Christian love and holiness. Secondly, we evangelize by reaching out to others in works of mercy and helping those who are in need, works of charity. Thirdly, we evangelize by simply sharing our faith, what our faith means to us, that our church, our worship, our beliefs are a source of comfort to us that takes us through our trials and tribulations. Just those 3 things. Yeah. And faith will begin to spread.